One thing I respect about you is your ability to delay gratification and like you're still doing it 8 years in, right? And that's why I think you've grown such a massive organization and you got some loyal team members.
It is impossible to make any of this stuff happen overnight. Like I was telling you, I'm running rich. I'm making less profit month to month than a lot of other agents, but I know that the bonus will hit, and it's a big one. I mean, for a $48 million book and you're 4.0ing, you can run the math. It's a big one, and that's how I pay myself. And even then, I'll reinvest like 50% of that right back into the business.
Where are you finding people? Are you paying services, headhunters? How are you constantly keeping a pipeline of candidates and people training?
It's a combination of kind of three tactics. The first one is
We got somebody that's going to be sharing with us every once in a while. I like to invite a guest that of somebody that's just crushing it and not just on social media. Kory is doing some things on social media. I'm a huge fan of his content. Um, and he just got started in that journey, which I'll ask him about. But every once in a while, I like to bring somebody in that's just really setting the bar within their agencies, and not just with like marketing, but with staffing. And I think Kory's doing other things like he's a real estate investor. He's he owns a bunch of real estate. He's flipping houses, all while growing one of the biggest and fastest growing agencies in Georgia. I think he's at 48 million within 8 years, writing nearly $1 million in premium per month. You should be ashamed of yourself, Kory. You fell short this month. The 944,000, that's pathetic.
once you touch that milli mark and you can't do it again right away, it, I am ashamed of myself.
Yeah, I think you need to burn the whole place down and start from scratch, man. Unacceptable.
Everyone's fired.
But Kory, please introduce yourself to those that don't know who you are.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I know a couple names on here already, so hey to you. So a lot of you know me as Kory Rykman here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm an agent. My wife is an agent, so we run this conglomerate, if you will, one happy family agency with multiple locations. We're up to 31 employees and finished June with 950K in premium, 850 items. We cracked the million in premium and 1,000 items twice already this year. So trying to get right back to that. And it took a lot of reinvesting, a lot of being broke in the very beginning to make that happen. And I am Allstate agent, captive, 100% Allstate, no indie stuff. And one thing that a lot of you don't know is I just opened a Florida agency. Allstate gave me a contract for Florida. So there's 23 million people in Florida as potential prospects. And I picked Florida simply because it's going to give me a chance to kind of diversify out of Allstate a little bit. They don't write property in Florida, but I have 20 different carriers that I can write property with that is in Allstate. And it's a book you can sell separately. You can sell it to independent agents. It's valued different. So it's just my way to diversify. So that's what I got going on.
That's crazy, man. That is awesome. So you're 48 million. You're you you're pretty removed from the agency, which is impressive because that's not an easy thing to do. You're allowed to focus on content. You're allowed to focus on flipping houses. You're allowed to focus on the C8 summit, which you guys all should be a part of. Um, but question I have for you, and I would love to just kind of guide some of these questions over the next 20 to 25 minutes and then open it up for everybody else so that way you guys can get your questions answered. And then go ahead and put in the chat as you guys get questions. But the first question that puts everything into context is where are you at with staffing? What's your staffing breakdown? What is your marketing spend? How are you hiring people and keeping a consistent pipeline of people and then training? So let's start with staff breakdown.
So we have almost
Hate to see
10
that.
people in service. And so that's what my wife does. She's basically the service manager. But in theory, you said we're removed from the business. So, yes, in a sense that it was a primary objective of ours about 2 years ago is to put middle management in place so I don't have to be in the business 24/7. And in fact, once I started doing that, the growth exploded because the people we put in those management roles did better than I did better than Lindsay did, and we grew. So she basically is the manager of two service managers who then manage 8 reps. So service has, I'm pretty sure it's 10 people now, 10 total people. And then sales has 21 LSPs.
20.
And
Okay.
then two of the salespeople, two of them are actual managers that aren't on the floor selling. They are 100% management.
Got it. And what's your monthly marketing spend? Do you have telemarketers? Like, how are you able to keep them so busy?
So I market slightly differently than some other big dogs that are putting up huge numbers. They're primarily telemarketing, right? They buy the cheapest leads and they'll buy them in bulk, and then they'll throw them to a telemarketer in Taiwan or wherever, and they'll make 1 million calls a month and transfer them in. And I just have not been able to make that model work. I've tried it at least a dozen times. So instead, I overspend on really good data leads. I'll talk to the companies and see who can get me like the highest intent stuff, where someone actually goes online, requests to speak to an agent. It's not just some BS jot form that gets sent to you. It's an actual like Google AdWord form type thing. And I've got a few companies that can make that happen. And I'm spending last month I spent a hair under $140,000 in marketing to sell almost $1 million in premium.
That's that's crazy, but it also puts into perspective um what it takes. What's your talk about hiring? Where are you finding people? Are you paying services, headhunters? How are you constantly keeping a pipeline of candidates and people training? Because as we know, people come
Yeah.
in, there's people come in sometimes, they're here for a year, 2 years. And I think there always needs to be a bench and a pipeline of people in the works. And talk to us about that process.
It's a combination of kind of three tactics. The first one is my staff. I incentivize them to refer good people to us. Um, Cody, the marketing spend was a buck 40, 140K to sell almost $1 million. So I'm so my staff gets a $3,000 bonus when whoever they referred sells 30 items in their first month. Or not like their very first month, but the first time that person sells 30 items, boom, my staff gets a 3K bonus. So they're incentivized to not only just throw someone in there, but someone that can effectively produce. So I've had to do that a dozen or so times. That's probably the number one place I've hired my people is through referrals. And it helps build like a team of people that know each other and are cool with each other. And we have a lot less turnover because of that. Now, there have been probably 5 or 6 times where I've hired through a recruiter, and I'm a big fan of recruiters. If you have an immediate need, if you have an immediate need, you can put somebody like that's ready to bind, ready to sell, already Allstate qualified, been selling for Allstate maybe, and you'll pay $4,000 or $5,000 for a recruiter to find you somebody, but it's somebody that can be plugged in almost immediately. Whereas when you hire outside, you got to train them up, and it's a 7 month span, 6, 7 months before they're putting up 30, 40 items a month. Whereas with a recruiter, assuming they can find you somebody pretty quick, I mean, they're hitting the ground running month one. And in fact, my best producer, she's cracked 200 items in this year, like twice already. She came from a recruiter.
Got it. What is that staff incentive? Is that staff like how are you paying your staff? I know we went over this not too long ago, and it's definitely a model where they can earn a good amount, and you provide them the resources. So talk to us about how you pay your team or your salespeople.
Yeah, my salespeople arguably are getting overpaid. I mean, it hurts profitability a little bit, but when that 4.0 bonus comes in, like it all makes sense. So I'm running a little more rich than most other agents month to month, but then when those bonuses hit, that's how I pay myself, and it all works out. But basically, they all get the same exact base as two 2K a month, so 24 a year base. Nobody can survive on that really. So they're incentivized to sell a lot. And, I'm a salesperson. I came from a sales background. I don't care what the base is, and I don't want my salespeople asking what the base is. I want them asking what's the potential you can make if you're crushing it as a salesperson. And that's where they're hooked. So if you're selling less than 25 items, which we don't even want to talk about, they're making 8%. Once you crack 35 items, you're making 10%. And once you crack 45 items, you're making 12%. And then the top tier, where I want everybody at, 55 plus items, you're making 15%. And there's a kicker. Once you get to that top tier, you also get a 2% bundling bonus. So if anything that you sold that's bundled, home and auto, the elite bundle, whatever they call it, that gets an extra 2%. So theoretically, so that makes a 17% as like the highest tier.
Wow.
Yep.
One
So
thing
I've got some sales reps making like $30,000 commission checks. The ones really crushing it. And then I'd say the average of my staff is making between $8,000 and $12,000 commission checks.
that's lovely. One thing I respect about you is your ability to delay gratification and like you're still doing it 8 years in, right? It's like, and that's why I think you've grown such a massive organization and you got some loyal team members. I remember asking you culture questions like, "Hey, what would you do in this situation?" And you have just this long-term mindset of how you treat people. Like you're very flexible. I remember you like you're super flexible. If they need time off, they this, and you just have this long time horizon. And I mean, you probably have great team loyalty. What's some of your like the tenures of your team? I remember for the longest time, I thought it was impossible to keep an LSP longer than 2 years. Like after the 2 year mark, I'm like, all right, someone's gonna quit or get fired like any month now. I can feel it, I can taste it, like it's gonna happen. Do you notice that you have a longer team retention than normal?
I definitely noticed it. I'm beyond thankful for how tenured some of my staff are and how much they love working here. And frankly, from a sale, if you don't have a path to making 200 grand, then you're in the wrong job. And so that's the main thing is I want to give them a path to 200 grand a year because you can live on that, in my opinion. Because if they quit, like what other options do they have to go make this kind of money? So there's definitely some good tenure there. And you're right about the long-term mindset. I mean, that's how business and investing needs to go. Like it is impossible to make any of this stuff happen overnight. And like I was telling you, I'm running rich. I'm making less profit month to month than a lot of other agents. Uh, but I know that the bonus will hit, and it's a big one. I mean, for a $48 million book and you're 4.0ing, you can run the math. It's a big one, and that's how I pay myself. And even then, I'll reinvest like 50% of that right back into the business the next month.
Yeah, I'm a little scarred because last year I missed bonus, and I used to 100% be like, yeah, it's all coming at the end of the year, and then you miss it 1 year, you're like, whoa, like
That'll
so
suck. I haven't been there yet. So
yeah. Hopefully,
um,
God willing, it never happens. Um, what train? Talk about training. I know you have a lot of team members that are fully remote. Are you fully remote?
100%.
100% remote. How how do you train your team?
So they do train in office for 2 weeks. So even if I hire someone that's out of state, which I've done multiple times, I do fly them into Atlanta for 2 weeks, and they sit with my two managers who would also come into one of my offices and train them for 2 weeks. But here's the caveat for training. Um, I only hire people that are like salesy, douchey car salesman type people. Just that personality that isn't afraid to ask for the sale, isn't afraid to make 100 calls a day. I don't need to train them on sales. I just need to teach them how to run Advisor Pro and like, but really that mentality is the most important thing because you don't have to train people as much. You just teach them the basics and throw them to the wolves. The 2 weeks of training, like frankly, the first several days is the all state onboarding stuff that they make you do. Then they meet with my sales managers. They just learn the ins and outs of how to quote a home, how to quote an auto, what the talk paths are, what the software looks like, and then we throw them to the wolves. I think that's the sooner you can throw somebody to the wolves, that's the best training there is in my experience. So we try to do it by the end of week 2, really like on the last 2 days or so that they're here with a sales manager, they're actually busting out quotes, making a bunch of calls, making a bunch of mistakes, falling on their face and learning. And within a week or two of kind of just being thrown to the wolves, they've got it.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing about the car salesman is they do know how to talk to people. I think that's such a good prerequisite for being successful is like, can you just talk to people and and not be awkward, I guess. Like, can you just hold a conversation, tell a story, and sound interesting, and use inflection in your voice? These little things, and they do train car salesmen pretty well with that. Uh, Talk to us about content. You're starting to get involved in content. You're putting out content. It's growing. You're speaking to your interests. You're speaking to your journey, your entrepreneurship, cars. Um, uh, you've got some bangers that did really well, talking about how your wife is your biggest or best or the most important business partner you'll ever have. I think that was along those lines. Talk to us about your social media journey and what made you decide to start building your personal brand.
Yeah. For the longest time, I was being a little bitch and not putting stuff out there like I knew I should have. And so that was my goal. That was my New Year's resolution. Straight up, that was my New Year's resolution at the beginning of this year was to quit being a little wuss and just start putting stuff out there. I had all these ideas I wanted to put stuff out there and just I don't know, I just wouldn't do it. I put out like fluffy wax stuff and I pulled the band-aid off and frankly, I don't even look at like who's watching it 99% of the time because who cares? It's just put it out there, put it out there. Some of it'll stick, some of it won't stick. It's just like marketing and sales. Some lead vendors stick, some lead vendors don't stick. Some calls you get a no on, the others you get a yes on. So just throw stuff out there. And I've already got quite a handful of success stories just this year from just throwing just random stuff out there. I have had two people I don't know say they saw my content and say my mom or my cousin. It was an uncle and it was a mom that had a house they wanted to sell to a cash buyer. It was a rundown house, and they're like, "Hey, I see your content. You're transparent about what kind of profit you need to make and stuff like that." And they're like, "Here's my mom's house. Check it out." And we ended up buying those houses, and one of them is on market right now. The other one's about to be on market next week. And then I got a referral for a sales rep to work here. Um, Same thing. He's like, I like what you're doing. I want to be a part of your team and what you got going on. And his first month, he's working here right now. His first month was in June. He sold 45 items in his very first month just because he's inspired by what's going on.
Man,
And like I'm not expecting any of this stuff in return, right? When you put the content out there, it's just you're now front of mind when people are thinking, oh, who's an insurance guy? They think of you because you put stuff in their face so much. Who can do real estate? Who can I talk to about investing or whatever it is? You just put random stuff out there and it works.
see what connects. And you're doing
Yeah.
that with cars. I think like cars is a great idea because it just captures people's attention and kind of hooks people to watch more and then they find out a little bit more about who you are, what you got going on. But dude, I love that it's helping both of your businesses. Real estate is helping your agency. People are going to think about you for insurance. And so it's your personal brand is so much bigger than just insurance. You can go into any industry and diversify or just, it maybe you decide to just get out of insurance altogether, that brand goes with you. And so that's epic. I love that. And that just saved you having to hire another person or
Yeah.
pay a company to find you that person. That gave you another whatever.
And it attracted a like-minded person. Like that was the first thing out of his mouth. He's like, I like what's going on. I like what you're building. Um, and I want to be a part of it. So same mindset that I had, boom, picked them right up.
Yeah. And so it looks like you're paying I know you're paying a videographer to help you produce that
Yeah.
content. How have you delegated some of those social media responsibilities?
I mean, really the way it works is once a month, the videographer comes out to my place or wherever we're meeting. And he's got a list of stuff he wants to shoot, and I've got a list of stuff, some ideas, and then we just shoot all day long, pretty much. Bring a couple change of clothes, so it looks like we did it over various days, but really it's all in one day. And we just take all day long, and then he goes on his way and he chops it up into shorts, into reels. We try to do like one long form thing when he's out here, and it's usually car related. And I'm paying him 3 G's a month, 3 grand a month. The insurance is paying for it. You know, it's an expense to the insurance business. It's a marketing expense, so it's somewhat of a deduction. Um, and he facilitates when it goes out. He writes up all the little things, and it goes to all the major platforms. And I'm basically just the talking head. He comes in and does all the work.
That's awesome. Yeah, it gets to a point to where we spend so much money on leads that when you look when and comparatively when you look at that $140,000 budget that you're spending on all marketing sources, I don't even know if that's including social media content.
Not at
No.
all. That's just leads. Yeah.
Right? But the upside to that 3,000, like you can speak to many instead of instead of spending so much money on data, and then we have the potential to reach what 10% or contact ratio of 40% of the amount of data that we're buying. And then when
And
people
Nick, that was probably the thing that helped me get over the hurdle of finally starting to put stuff out there. Is like I don't know, I had a hard time setting up a tripod or doing a selfie and recording myself and making that my content. I just I needed to act basically is what it was. I needed somebody else to do all the heavy lifting with the videography and setting it up and tell me where to stand and tell me what to do with my hands and like I here's a list of stuff I think will resonate. He brings a list of stuff he thinks will resonate for my personality and my brand, and then we just shoot. And I mean, at first it didn't cost me 3 grand a month. We did it a couple times for like $1,200 a month, and then we doubled down. So I had to make sure it worked, and that was basically an investment, right? And now that I've got two houses that came out of it, plus an employee who's gonna make me way more than 30 grand a year, like it's paid for itself 10x already.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. And then I can see the progress, like your level of comfort in front of the camera, from the beginning to now. You're starting to just be a little bit more fluid in how you're on your camera presence. And just I think the goal for everybody is like, how can I just be more me versus like soon as that camera hits record, I start acting a little awkward because I we all do it. I do it where it's like, as soon as it's record, I'm like, like I just, whether it's a little inflection in your voice or a little bit of awkwardness, it's the how do we become our true selves on camera, and I've seen that progress that you've made. Well, look, I want to open it up to everybody else. We're at the halfway mark, and so everybody, please,
You've
what
got a couple chat questions already.
yeah, whatever questions you guys have, you can jump on and just go ahead and voice it right now. But Kory's an open book. That's what I appreciate about him. There's literally no secrets to his game plan and his strategy. So you guys have an opportunity to ask, and let's go ahead and ask. So somebody asked if you're indie or captive. You're captive, a little bit of both. Um, with the Florida
Right.
acquisition. And then marketing spend was just shy of 140K. And Kathy, you want to ask your question? I don't know if Kathy's still here.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey Kory, you had said you had 21 sales reps and then you said two managers. So I was just trying to divvy up what you're spending per rep. So I didn't know if that was actually 19 people that
It's 19.
140.
Yeah, it's 19 people. I don't know what the math is for last month, but on average this year has been like 6,600 a month I've been spending per rep.
And I saw right now just high intent data leads.
High intent data leads sometimes is harder to find than you think. But I mean, it's all the major companies: Quote Wizard, Smart, EverQuote, Burke Digital is another one I use. Avenge, HPW. Those are all vendors I currently use, plus a bunch of snail mail. And you just tell them, look, I want your highest intent stuff. I don't want any like pop up, fill out this form for a cruise, and all of a sudden you're calling them about insurance. None of that junk. You can get a lot of that lead, and then, it's a real person's phone number and name, but we don't want that. I don't have a telemarketing team, so I want my sales reps only calling on people that physically requested a quote. So that's what I tell
Okay.
them.
Okay. And on those, do you know about the average that you're paying per data lead for only like because you're requesting only the highest intent?
Yeah, if I had to average it, just off the top of my head from all those companies, it's probably in the $26 a lead range, just the data lead. 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It's so funny how you can literally win in so many different ways. Like when you explained the the low cost, just let me get that name and phone number type data leads that are like $5 a pop versus the high intent, more expensive leads. I've made a killing off of the opposite of you. Just let me get as much as many leads, filter them out as for homeowners as much as possible, and have some telemarketers contact them, transfer them to my sales team. That model's worked for me every time I've try to diversify. I'm like, let me try higher intent leads. I always regret it, and I just I'm not patient enough to see it through. But even when I have been patient, I'm like, nope, not worth it. So
There's a couple things that I do in addition to it, like part of the process that I think makes a significant difference. So one thing that the high intent does is, for one, your salespeople are happier because they're actually working with more like the higher intent customers is all I can say. Like they're actually having meaningful conversations, I think, more often than a telemarketer calling in. So my salespeople are happy. Secondly, I do two other things throughout the year to help. Number one is a requote campaign. I do a requote campaign twice a year, which I do hire an outside telemarketing vendor. So I'll send them all my old leads, all my old stuff, and it's 50,000 leads or whatever it is, and they'll blow through it in a month, maybe two, and just re-engage with those same customers and get them to requote. And we end up closing another 100, 200 items or so out of that campaign every time. So those high intent customers will pick up the phone again later and let you requote them. And then the other thing I do is I have one in-house telemarketer, but she's not what you think she is. So she works basically, we call it like an aged hot list. So someone that my LSPs swear would have been good, like swear they should have sold them, but they just ghosted them or fell off or something like that, and they can't get a hold of them again. They go into this Terra folder, and then so I've got this internal telemarketer that's just calling through basically recent, probably 3 months back leads that we thought were good, quotes we thought were good, but we just can't get a hold of somebody. And so she'll re-engage. She gets us somewhere between 40 and 50 items a month through her activities of re-engaging.
gotcha. So you got some other things that aren't as that are a little bit more detailed and kind of retargeting things that are
Yeah.
turning into some business. Um, One of the questions that let's see here. Melissa, you want to ask that question? I don't know if you're still here.
Yes. Hi, Kory. Hi, Nick.
Hey,
My question was with brokered business, like I manage. We're also just an Allstate agent. Do you pay that with do you include that with your monthly items and commission?
So in the, I do not include it in the 833 items or whatever it was I sold last month. That's all Allstate stuff.
Okay.
We don't do a lot of brokered business, quite like we almost do none in Georgia. If it doesn't fit Allstate, we just let it go, and we'll try to recontact it in a year. In Florida, I mean, I'm in my first month. I think we sold like 15 items that first month. We're still starting to get people licensed in there. So like in the future, I will include it in my numbers, but right now from the ones I just gave you and the ones all this year, there was no brokered business in that. And for commission on brokered business, it's going to be a flat 10%. So anything that my salespeople sell in Florida, either Allstate or brokered, is going to be a flat 10%. I'm not doing tiers in Florida just because the math doesn't math the same way down there. So it's going to be a flat 10%.
And then, sorry, last thing with that, when you're doing your 2-week training, do you train them on broker business, or do you kind of just be like, reach out to those companies and you're on your own on that?
At the moment, no one's been trained on broker business just because it is so fresh. But it will be absolutely a part of training in Florida. Like in Florida, there's going to be a rating. A rater is what it's called. It's like, it's the same thing as Advisor Pro. You just plug it in and it spits out all the different companies and their quotes. And then you have to, if somebody is interested, then you have to go into that company and finalize the quote. So yes, they're absolutely going to have to get trained and get good at that. And then my sales managers will have to get trained on that, myself. Like, we're just starting the process of Florida. So there will definitely be some training involved for everybody there.
Stacy, looks like you got a question. I don't know if you're, I see you. You want to hop on?
Yeah, I was wanting to know, how much do you spend on your new hires when you're training in the first 90 days or however long you your process with them as far as the
It's not the full amount. So that first couple of weeks that they're in the office, like when they first hit the phones there on the last couple of days, they might get 5 leads a day because they're still slow at quoting and figuring it out. So whatever that math works, so probably $150 a day per LSP in the very beginning. And then in that first full month that they are on the sales floor all on their own, they get everything. They get the full boat of leads.
All right, thank you.
Just have to stomach that opportunity cost.
A lot of people ask me this, and Nick, you mentioned like being patient. I give people quite a bit of time before they move on or I move on from them, new people. And I mean, we'll go through some new hires pretty regularly that don't last 6 months or whatever it is, but I'm pretty regularly giving people about 6 months, because that first month they're in training, they're thrown to the wolves. I don't expect anything out of them. If they can sell 5-10 items, I'm happy. By month 2, when they're on their own, I expect them to be at around 20 items a month because they're still improving. They're still figuring out how to quote and manage a pipeline. By month 3, I want to see them over 30 items a month. And as long as people are trending in that direction, their activity is high, they're making the calls, they're improving, then I'll continue to give them more time.
Cool. Appreciate that.
That's good. And then Cody, where did you find your videographer? I think Cody.
Yeah.
I
had that
Randomly,
idea, but I haven't been able to figure out where to find a good one.
I got targeted through his stuff on Instagram one day. He put an ad out, and it was like, you need a videographer, and he looked like he was cheap enough for me to afford, but his quality was good. And so I answered his little thing and made it happen.
Okay, and you do any direct mail?
Say what?
Any direct mail?
A ton of direct mail. I probably do the most in the state.
See, Saka, told you.
Yeah.
I still don't do mail. That's another one where I'm just like, screw this.
You got to be patient with mail, and you got to be different with mail. So I do anywhere between 75 and 100,000 pieces a month. It just varies on the X states. And the only thing I like, the mail that doesn't work is the canned Allstate lawyer approved, you can tell it's spam mail junk. Like you can't do that. You can't go in a tag. You can't buy from these vendors. They don't let you change stuff up, and it looks totally whack. So my mail is like, I've designed the whole piece myself. And it basically passes the sniff test, if you will. The way it works is I've got a blank envelope. It's not a window envelope. It's just a regular envelope. And it looks like it's hand addressed, the person's name and address, but it's not. It's printed on there in some font that I found online that looks hand addressed. There's no return address label, and it's just a regular stamp. So when someone looks at the mail, because I read a book a long time ago, it's called Dan Kennedy's No BS Guide to Direct Marketing, and he talks about mail in it a bunch. The No BS Guide to Direct Marketing, and in that book, he's like, look, you and I, we all do the same thing. You go to your mailbox and you grab the mail, and by the time you get into the house, you already know what's junk, first of all. And second of all, you got to imagine that, because you do the same thing, you're standing over the trash bin as you go through your mail, and you're throwing the pieces in that you already know. This is a postcard. I don't do business with this company. You could tell. So you have to get past that sniffer test first. And so with the hand address looking envelope without the return address, like, it's enough to fake out the majority of people to at least open it now and see, okay, let me see what this is. So now they open it, and you've got maybe 10 seconds of their attention. So whatever the top line or lines or that first paragraph or picture you have or whatever has to get their attention. And so on mine, I've got different variations that I use based on the campaign I'm doing. But one of them that absolutely kills it is this 1 year X date. So I pull a list of everybody that bought their house 1 year ago. And that first line, in not these exact words, but it basically says, you don't know jack about your home insurance. Your mortgage officer probably picked it for you. They might have even got a kickback. You don't even know what kind of coverage you have. You don't know your deductible. And I just go in on them and I'm like, let's look at your policy. Let's make sure you have the coverage. House values are going up. And then we save people $1,000 on average. And then behind it, so it's a cover page, and behind it is a faux quote that we use Quote Burst to generate. And so they get 2 pages, that cover letter that hits them in the mouth and tells them to respond. And then here's what the price could be.
I know you gave me some advice to not put my ugly face on the mail and put my smoking hot wife's face, and that might convert more. So
Yes.
yeah, I think
Bro, that literally doubled my response rate.
See? True story, dude. True story. The wife is on my mail too.
fellas, if you're single, I'm sorry, just use AI. Like use AI. Like find something smoking hot, professional headshot.
Office manager.
Angelica, you got a good question here. I don't know if you're here, you want to ask? There you go.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, I'm Angelica. I'm in Texas. With the experience, knowledge, and success you have now, what is the best advice you would tell your younger self coming in at year one?
It's the same advice I'm still telling myself now. And you gotta go for broke. Like, spend every extra profitable penny you have, put it back into the business, try new stuff out. But basically, it boils down to just reinvesting in the business, in my opinion. A lot of agents come in here and they make 100 grand, 200 grand that first year, and they're happy and they buy stuff and they start living the life they've always wanted. But if you can just find a way to live on a lot less and reinvest in your business and get to that 4.0 bonus, that's when you pay yourself. Until then, spend everything else, pay yourself when that bonus hits. And that's hard to do. Like, it sucks to be broke, but you gotta.
I heard this a long time ago and it kind of stuck with me. It was, as you start making money, you can give that 30,000 and pay taxes on it, or you can give, like, let's just say it's 30 grand, you can spend that 30,000 back into your business and get a discount from the IRS, right? So as you make money, do I want to pay more taxes on a selfish item, or do I want to be able to write this off? And that makes
And one extra thing there is, you got to be very clear in your goals. Every time Allstate releases new goals for us, same thing I'm sure with Indies maybe and other captives, like, they have a goal for you to hit. And with us, or with me, it's, I want a max bonus. What's the max bonus that Allstate pays? And then I work backwards. So let's just say I want to hit that bonus, and that's going to require me selling 700 items a month. And at this level, that's exactly what it is. I got to do the math backwards. 700 items. How many reps is that going to take if they average 35 items a month? how many leads do they need to get to that 35 items a month? And so how many salespeople do I need and how much I got to spend on marketing? And you just work your way back until you hit your goal. So identify that goal, and then you got to pour every dollar into that goal to hit it.
We got a question. Do you plan to charge broker fees on broker business when you're in Florida? I don't know if you know that answer yet.
I don't know that answer.
And then Robbie, you got a question.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Kory. Thanks for being on.
Hey,
Regarding the requote campaign, you said you do twice a year. With that company, what are they doing with those? Are they transferring to you guys? Are they doing mailers, quote bursts?
it's strictly they're calling through that campaign and saying something like, "Hey, you let us quote your home and auto a year ago. I'm pretty sure everywhere you've been since then, your rates have gone up. So let me take another swing at it." And then the person will say, "Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm going to transfer you over," and they'll get the quote. So they'll live transfer it to my office. It'll ring everybody. Whoever picks it runs with it.
Thank you.
Good question. And then when you mention items, it's not just VC items only, right?
Yeah, that's all items. Anything I'm getting paid commission on, but it's all Allstate items, and VC ends up being like 90% of it.
Got it. And your response rate with mailers? At question from Kathy.
Your response rate, Kathy, is not high. It's never that high. I mean, response rate is somewhere between, depends on the campaign that I do, but anywhere between like point anywhere between 0.5% and like less than 0.5% response. So you send 100,000 pieces out, you'll get 200 people to call. Maybe, well, 200 people on the bad campaigns, about 500 people on the good campaigns. But on mail, you're closing like 65% of
Veronica, you asked a question, which telemarketing company are you using? I put a website for a link for a great source of overseas telemarketers that we've had success with. Oh, onlinejobs.ph. So you can find telemarketers there for like $400 to $600 a month. But Kory, where do you find telemarketers?
I hire the companies that already have them on deck. I use Easy Live Marketing. They've got telemarketers, so Easy Live leads, and they'll just pick me up a telemarketer. They sound American-ish, but they're not. They cost about I think $600 a month for a telemarketer, and that they don't charge you per transfer. So you just throw them the data and they'll call.
Good. Joy, where are you at?
What's up, Kory?
Hey,
My
Joy.
Georgia brother. So yeah, I've been thinking about VAs. So do you use a VA? And if so, how do you use them?
I don't use one. I've thought about it a million times.
Yeah.
I don't use one. I got enough help at the moment inside the office where I don't know. I don't feel like I fully need one yet.
Okay. What about you, Nick?
I am getting there. I need to learn how to buy back more of my time. But
Right.
yeah, uh, yeah. The first thing I think about is like travel. I need more like, and it's hard for me to like trust somebody somebody else to do all that. But I need to get over that hump. But I'll keep you posted. I'm about right there, and I'll keep you.
Nick, that buy back your time, that was the book that triggered me to start putting in management in my office more than ever. Like I finished listening to that book and it just made so much sense. Like, yeah, no duh, I can just pay people to do this job and that buy. So highly recommend that book.
Yeah, you find out which tasks are we doing that just don't deserve our time, and how can we outsource it? And David, you got a question?
Yeah. Hey, Nick. Hey, Kory. How's it going, man?
Good. David.
David.
Good, good. Hey, I was curious when you do your mass mailing campaign, do you hit the same list with multiple pieces, or do you just send an individual piece out on that campaign? How does that work?
So there's two campaigns I primarily do. There's your regular X date. So I pull all the data from Sales Genie, Data Axle, and they'll give you the X date month. So that means that person bought their house in this month of any year. And so they'll get my regular mail piece that just talks about saving people $1,000 a year. And then I do a targeted one for that 1 year X date where I poo-poo on they don't know anything about their coverage because it's been the first year. So those are the two campaigns I do. And then I do a 6 month X date. So I'll send like everybody and their mom a mail on that regular 12-month X date. And then I have a much finer set of criteria, like really my hot zip codes and my expensive houses. I'll send at 6 months as well. So it's 12 months and 6 months for the really targeted ones.
Okay, just a quick follow-up to that, Kory. And I'm in a little bit of a different industry than you all. And Nick, hopefully I joined the right group, man. But I have an independent agency and we specialize in employee group benefits, health insurance, supplemental benefits. So we focus on business owners. How would you approach that? Or maybe you know, maybe you don't. How would you approach that audience with a mail campaign?
So with a mail campaign, I'd have to put some thought into it. We used to do a lot of benefits. In fact, my wife's dad was a benefits broker, and he worked for Allstate when Allstate did benefits. So as an office, actually, we sold a ton of workplace benefits in the first couple of years before they got rid of that part of the company. And I probably enrolled anywhere between like 5 and 8 companies every single year. Because there was a goal Allstate wanted us to hit. So I hit it with benefits and I bought leads. I bought benefits leads. I would straight up buy web leads of people who were looking for workplace benefits. And I would call those people and set up appointments. And I also tried a telemarketing company who would set appointments for me. And I mean, you'll spend a good bit of money doing that, but we closed cases. That's what we call them. We did a bunch of cases just buying leads.
Those are some big deals when they land.
Yeah. I mean, it hit my and my ALR number, my life and retirement number, like for the first 5 straight years. Just I wasn't selling life insurance. I was doing benefits.
Yeah. So the ORIT was worth the investment?
It definitely was for me, yes.
Gotcha.
What industries do you tend to write the most, Dave?
Geez, we work with all different types of businesses, but probably the best ones for us are trades, medical groups. Trade guys tend to work hard and play hard. They make better money, So I would say trades and medical are probably some of our best groups.
If I were to give you like a quick idea, just write up a 1-pager that is very direct and like asks them to contact you multiple times on it. So several calls to action and like what's their pain point at the very top, how you're going to fix it, and then 10 ways to contact you. And then just in Sales Genie, because you can pull a list, of HR managers or whatever, and mail them as well. I would say in the very beginning, I would get real tight with like pick a list of maybe 500 or less companies you want to target and find out their names. And you yourself and use your kids or whoever to hand address it. Use blue or purple ink, something that looks totally hand addressed, and send them that piece of mail that they are going to open because it is hand addressed and they're going to open it.
Gotcha. That's a good idea. I've really thought a lot about doing mailings. Up to now, we've pretty much been cold calling and walking in person and picking up the phone is how we've approached businesses in the past, but I need to expand on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the only ways you can hit your buyer. Like you could shoot a shotgun and it's a big mass hit, and you get in front of the direct buyer with mail. Like you can get in front of 500 business owners like that.
100%. And last thing, you're just doing the mailings yourself. You're not employing like some type of mail.
I outsource it to a local mail house that does it all. So
Okay.
I just pull the list and I sort the list, and then they print stuff, seal, send.
Okay, they do the rest. Gotcha. All right, awesome. Thanks, Kory. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. One of our next mastermind calls I believe the next one, we're going to be going over Facebook ads. We're going to do another strategy session on running Facebook ads, and I have some ideas on what type of content I would create for those industries, just to try to get their attention through social media. So maybe if you tandem that with mailers, it might hopefully help you convert more.
Awesome. I'll be listening.
Yeah. And then Kathy, what is it average cost per piece of mail?
I'm at about 54 cents a piece.
54 cents. Well, what other questions do you guys have for Kory? Speak now. I got some culture questions.
What you got,
Actually, there
Nick?
was a question. I apologize. Communication. While everybody's remote, how are people? What are some of the things that you're holding them accountable to from a communication? Is there a group chat? Are they plug punching? Are they inputting their numbers at multiple times a day, end of day? What are your metrics, your KPIs? What are
I
some of
mean,
those?
that's a long answer, obviously, but the basics are so culture is, if I had to put a kind of a label on it, no micromanaging. It's like almost less culture because when you hire real salespeople, they don't want to be managed. They just want to, they put the goal in front of them, tell them how to do it, and set them free. They don't want to hear from you, especially if they're doing their numbers. They don't want to hear from you. And that's the way I was as a salespeople. Just let me do my thing. So my staff are not entirely like needing attention, if you will, and needing that whole culture thing. I do see the benefits of that occasionally, um, of doing that. It's just not, that's not the route I take. So the people that I hire and that stick around the longest, they don't need all that extra help. So they're on a chat, they're on a group chat, and anytime they need help, they can chat with one another. Um, and then we use performology to plug it in our sales. So every time somebody has a sales, everybody in the office gets a ding that Logan made a sale or whoever. So that keeps, that in front of their mind. But for the most part, like they can talk to their managers, they can chat with one another, but they want to be left alone. And that's how I want it too.
Yeah, and that's why you're getting the results you're getting. Well, I don't think there's any other questions, but I wanted to make sure you plug your socials in so people can connect with you if they want to, reach out to you and just or follow your engage with your content. So, are you Kory Rykman on Facebook? I'm not
Yep.
on Facebook. What are you on TikTok? That's my question.
Same thing. I mean, if you start typing in my name, on TikTok, it's Kory's into what?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. And then Instagram, it's Kory McFly
All right.
because I'm the flyest, which I'm not, but that's why I put it there. But it is regular Kory Reichman on Facebook.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, I just want to acknowledge you, man. You've been a good friend. You've been a huge source of inspiration for me. And I always say get in rooms where you're uncomfortable, where you're not the best in your city, your state, but get around people that are just performing at the highest level. And that's what Kory, you've done for me. So I appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with our group. And you guys, please connect with Kory. And yeah, bro, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, man, you're welcome.